You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. Hey, what's up everyone? Tim Uchuk here. I am out and about. We're leaving for Hawaii, actually, later this afternoon. So very excited. I've got to go pick up headphone splitters for our kids so that we can get them listening to some movies on the airplane. It's going to be, 5.5, 6 hour flight? Something like that. But this episode it's going to be a short one, but I think it's going to be a really, really important one. If you've ever found yourself trying to hire new team members or trying to let go and empower them, and you feel like it's coming right back on your plate every time, and you end up saying things like, you know what, it's impossible to find good people out there, I might as well just do it myself, and you may have just thrown your hands up and said, I give up. This episode's for you. So let's just start with the definition so that we can really unpack this of what a system is. Excuse the ambulance. And this is one of the root causes of where people get flustered, is that if you look at picture a triangle, and on each point in the triangle you've got people on one, process on the other, and tools on the other. So people, process, and tools. And to have a system that's functioning well, in other words, when I'm talking about a system, I'm talking about a machine that just runs without you really having to intervene. So people, process, tools. And now oftentimes, and in this example, this gentleman was talking about his bookkeeper. So he had hired a bookkeeper. I think it was a friend of his, and best intentions to let go of some stuff, free up some time so we can get back to growing the business, and nothing was done correctly, right? They just didn't know what they were doing. Nothing was done correctly. Mistakes were being made, and I just had to end up doing it myself. Now, I'm sure if you're an entrepreneur and you've tried to build a team, this is probably pretty familiar to you. And so getting back to that triangle, people, process, tools, well, oftentimes when this kind of stuff happens, I would say more times than not, and obviously there are A players out there and there are B players. And when you can find great people, hold on to them, but not everybody's an A player. And so what I found in my experience is that when you set people up, we're all a product of our environment. When you give them the right environment, I've seen B players upgrade and become A players. And sometimes because they're not in the right environment, they're not set up for success. You could put a great person in a bad environment, and you're just going to get crap results because it's garbage in, garbage out. So how do you set up a good environment? Well, again, getting back to people, process, and tools, let's look at the example of a bookkeeper, which is what we're talking about here, where he was flustered and ended up letting them go. Now, the approach that I found works when you look at a system and you identify the people, process, tools. Well, what are the tools that your accountant or your bookkeeper is using? One of them is your accounting software, right? So you might use something like QuickBooks or ACPAC or whatever the tool is, doesn't really matter. Within that, bookkeeping is a function, right? It's like a department, it's a function. And so there's a number of procedures that need to happen within that function, number of procedures, right? Some of them are recurring, right? So like processing, payroll, for example, is a series of procedures, and it's done likely on a recurring basis, let's say every 2 weeks. So what are those procedures? Well, it's a number of step-by-step, calculations and interacting with the tool. And then on the other end of it, ideally you've got accurate, timely payroll is processed. Same with your payables, same with your receivables. It's a set of procedures, right? And when you break it down and you understand within the function and you look at the tool, what are the tools being used? Could be paperwork, could be software. If we're looking at the people, process, tools analogy, and we say, okay, we've got the people, that's the bookkeeper. We've got the tool, That's the QuickBooks. That's the software or whatever. Okay, so let's look at all of the different procedures within this function. Okay, procedure number 1 is monthly reporting. Procedure number 2 is payroll. Procedure number 3 is receivables, and then you've got payables. All these things, responsibilities that you're hiring this bookkeeper for, right? And here's where the frustration comes in is we've got the people, we talked about that. We've got the tool, we talked about that. That'd be the software. Now, if you have these two things, unless you've got the process side dialed in, this is where you're going to get frustrated as heck, and you're going to say, man, why can't they just get it? Why can't they just do it correctly? What's going on? Well, you're missing the third piece of the system, which is the process. And so this is something that we teach in our Perfect Week program, but it's all around identifying, okay, what are these procedures? And then it's just a matter of agreeing, okay, what's the standard? Taking all that gray, making it black and white, what's the standard? In other words, how do you do it? Capture how you do it so that this person who comes from a different background, different experiences, and we all have different interpretations, right? You could say the same sentence with different intonations and different tonality, and it could mean completely 10 different things. For example, if you say, I've heard this before, so this isn't related to anything, but I didn't say she was beautiful. I've heard this before. So I didn't say she was beautiful, right? We're going to emphasize the I. I didn't say she was beautiful, right? So the first one we emphasize the I, the second one we emphasize the she, and then let's emphasize the beautiful. I didn't say she was beautiful. We've said the same thing with different emphasis in different areas, and we've got multiple different interpretations in that example. The same is true when it comes to you throw a person in, you give them the tool. Everybody's going to have a slightly different interpretation. So how do we close the loop and make it black and white? You agree on what the standard is with each of those procedures, so you list them out and you document them. And again, there are tricks to make this really quick and easy. But if you can show them and make it just foolproof, okay, when you're running payroll, here's what it is, this, and here's how often, every 2 weeks, on this date, here's when it's due, and here's who does what, your responsibility. So it's that simple, and when you can turn that gray and make it black and white, right, you've given the person the tool, you've got the person, now you've got the process. You get these three things married together, and you've got a system. And again, when you think in these terms and you set people up in an environment where they can thrive, where you've got these three things together, that's where the magic happens. And if you want to have that set up on autopilot, there's a fourth piece that we bolt on, which is something called measuring and reporting, which I won't even get into in this episode. But if you understand these three areas and understand what a system is, and you look at what of these three where you're lacking or where there's room for improvement, and you focus on filling those holes, filling those gaps, and give clarity to that person, give them the right environment, you're going to see much, much, much better results and return on your investment in terms of building a team. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. And I am at my destination to get my splitters, headphone splitters, and I will hopefully talk to you guys soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.